was kind of tempted to start with some joke about how I was a big baseball star in college, given my assignment, but I couldn't really think of anything clever. Hearing our readings today, I think we all need to focus here on the call to discipleship. And thinking about being sent, and it being my first weekend here, I can't help but think about my own call to discipleship, which in many ways I saw in my own call to the priesthood. Rewind to high school-aged Christian, I was involved in the life of the parish. I was involved in all sorts of youth ministries. I served at Mass. I was doing all the good things that you should do when you're in high school. I even went on a visit to the college seminary in St. Paul, Minnesota, my sophomore year of high school. In some ways, you could have looked at my life at that point, and you could have said, oh, of course he was going to become a priest. But at that point in my life, although I liked doing religious things, I would never have seen the priesthood as a legitimate option for my future. See, for me at that point in my life, God was nothing more than a nice idea. I had no relationship with him, and surely I was not going to give my life to a nice idea. April 3rd of 2016 was Divine Mercy Sunday that year, and it was my junior year of high school. And at this point in high school, I was already preparing for my college plans. I was already preparing ahead mentally for the next few years. Well, on this day, Divine Mercy Sunday of my junior year, I went to confession that day, and the priest, out of the blue, he said, now this isn't your penance, but I'm going to invite you to pray a prayer. And the prayer was, Lord, show me the way to your peace. Lord, show me the way to your peace. And I didn't think much of it, so I went back to the pew, I knelt down, and I closed my eyes, and I started to repeat in my head, Lord, show me the way to your peace. Lord, show me the way to your peace. And like every prayer before that, I never really expected an answer. But unlike every prayer before that, I received an answer. See, in that moment, I heard very clearly the Lord speak to me. And he answered my prayer. And I knew it was the voice of the Lord because I'd never heard this sort of voice before. And it was a voice of love and a voice of peace. And it said to me in my heart, the way to my peace is the priesthood. A lot happened in that short moment there. But above all, what happened for me was that I encountered the Lord. He was no longer just an idea. I encountered him, and he called me to follow him. And as the years went on, as I entered seminary, and as I grew in my relationship with him, as I grew in my love for the church, he was preparing me then to be sent out. Let's think about our gospel now for a moment. The 72 are gathered, they're called by Christ, and then they're sent out. They're given clear instructions on what they are to do, and they're being even warned of the cost of discipleship. I want you to think about this for a second. Each one of those 72 who were called and sent by the Lord could share a similar story like I just shared. They each had an experience of the Lord calling them. And then they were each sent out on mission. And so when the time was ready, they went out for the harvest, as the gospel tells us. I think sometimes we may tell ourselves that only some people are called by the Lord. That Jesus only calls the holy ones who will follow him. Jesus only calls those who are really into their faith. Those are the ones that he sends out. The Lord only calls those who want to be called in the first place. I think we tell ourselves that many times, actually. Brothers and sisters, each one of us here is being called and sent by the Lord. And you might be thinking to yourself right now, well, I'm waiting for my big moment like you had then. I'm waiting for my moment of calling. You know, the more that I reflected on my own vocation story, my own call to the priesthood, the more I realized that the Lord was calling me well before Divine Mercy Sunday on April 3rd, 2016. I was called by the Lord well before I was in high school. I was called by the Lord well before I was in grade school. I was called by the Lord well before I was even born. See, the truth is that the same God who created us in love created us for love. He formed us in his love so that he might call us to himself. And in receiving his love, he then sends us out. See, being called is not a one-time event. The Lord calls us at every moment of our lives, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And I say this to remind all of us that no matter where we are in life right now, no matter what our relationship with the Lord looks like, no matter how much we view ourselves as sinful and unworthy of his love, we are all called to follow him. From all eternity, God had a plan for you, each and every one of you. He had a desire for your life, and his desire was that you might know him, and that you might receive his love, and that you might follow him. And so when we respond to that call, he sends us out. He sends us because he wants to use us as his instruments of grace and love here in the world. As Teresa of Avila summed up quite well in one of her poems, Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks with compassion on the world. See, the Lord called those 72 so that someone who was sick in Nazareth might receive the healing touch of Christ through their hands. The Lord called them so that someone in Jerusalem might see their witness to Christ and be converted to following him. The Lord called them so that through their prayer, someone in Capernaum might be freed from a demon. The Lord called me and sent me out so that on July 5th, 2025, I could be here with you all at St. Isaac Jogues celebrating Mass with you. And the same Lord has called and continues to call each and every one of you, so that in your marriages, in your families, in your homes, in the places you work, in your neighborhoods, in your communities, in your friendships, in your relationships, in all your spheres of influence, you can be sent there to show his love to others. What a beautiful calling that is. And what a gift that we all get to share that together. So I invite all of us today to turn to the Lord and ask him to show us in a new way, or perhaps to show us for the first time how he has been calling us and how he continues to call us. May we respond with open hearts to his invitation so that we may receive his love into our hearts, so that in turn we may become instruments of his grace here on earth and go forth to be witnesses to the love of Jesus Christ.